In spring 2025, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security (DHS) began quietly rolling out a new mobile face recognition tool to agents with Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) and Customs and Border Protection (CBP). Publicly, the app was promoted as a way to determine or verify someone's identity in the field. However, investigations and expert analysis have revealed that the tool, known as Mobile Fortify, is technically flawed, legally questionable, and fraught with privacy risks. What Mobile Fortify is, and isn't. DHS describes Mobile Fortify as a tool that allows agents to capture a person's face, and sometimes fingerprints, using a mobile device, then search federal biometric databases for matches. In theory, it is intended to help officers confirm identity when someone lacks traditional identification, is suspected of immigration violations, or requires verification quickly during field operations. But there is a critical distinction between suggesting a possible match and proving identity. In practice, Mobile Fortify does not provide a conclusive, confidence-rated identification backed by scientific certainty. Instead, the algorithm produces candidate results, potential matches, that still require human interpretation. This limitation becomes especially apparent in real-world conditions. Poor lighting, side profiles, tilted heads, partially obscured faces, and movement all dramatically reduce accuracy. Controlled testing has repeatedly shown that performance drops sharply when images are taken outside settings such as airports or visa stations. The discrepancy was underscored when an ICE agent reported that two photos of the same woman, both taken during field enforcement, returned different candidate identities. When officers asked her name, she did not respond, highlighting both the unreliability of these matches and the danger of assuming that identity had been conclusively verified. Used hundreds of thousands of times, with minimal oversight. Despite these limitations, Mobile Fortify has not been confined to border checkpoints. Reports indicate the app has been used more than 100,000 times in interior operations on immigrants, U.S. citizens, protesters, bystanders, and others encountered during enforcement actions. This broad deployment followed the removal of internal privacy safeguards. Previous directives that required centralized privacy review, consent notifications, and robust oversight were quietly eliminated, leaving ICE and CBP privacy officers with sole authority to approve use of the app. This allowed the tool to be launched with minimal transparency and few privacy protections. Previously, DHS privacy controls required privacy impact assessments, explicit consent, and accountability mechanisms. Mobile Fortify bypassed most of these measures, raising concerns about unchecked biometric surveillance. Civil liberties and constitutional concerns. Civil liberties advocates warn that using facial recognition in everyday enforcement actions represents a major erosion of privacy rights. Groups such as the American Civil Liberties Union and the Electronic Frontier Foundation argue that facial recognition technology is inherently unreliable and prone to bias. One of the most concerning issues is that individuals scanned by Mobile Fortify often have no opportunity to consent or even know that their biometric data is being collected and stored. ICE reportedly does not provide notice at the point of collection, and all biometric captures, whether a match is made or not, are treated as records that can be retained for years. The consequences of incorrect matches are significant. Individuals may be unnecessarily detained, face legal jeopardy, or be added to immigration watch lists. Documented cases include U.S. citizens wrongly detained for more than 30 hours due to faulty biometric matches. Experts argue this demonstrates the high stakes of relying on an unproven system without adequate safeguards. Some legal observers consider such practices unconstitutional, particularly when applied to U.S. citizens without statutory authorization. They assert that warrantless collection of biometric data infringes on privacy and due process rights. Accuracy, bias, and technology limits. Facial recognition technology is far from perfect. Independent testing has consistently shown that algorithms are less accurate for people of color and when images are captured in uncontrolled conditions. Accuracy decreases sharply with tilted heads, poor lighting, partial occlusions like sunglasses or masks, and other real-world variables. Bias in the technology can have disproportionate effects on marginalized communities, including racial and ethnic minorities, who are already overrepresented in enforcement encounters. Beyond errors, the broader ecosystem amplifies concerns. CBP's biometric systems can store tens of millions of images, often linked across federal databases. Once collected, this data may remain accessible for years or decades, and individuals have limited ability to correct errors. Lack of transparency and public accountability. Mobile Fortify's rollout has been criticized for its lack of transparency. DHS has not publicly detailed the inner workings of the algorithms, the databases accessed, how confidence scores are calculated, or what safeguards exist to prevent misuse. Information about contractors and technical architecture has only emerged through investigative reporting and federal disclosures. Attempts to expand similar biometric tools to local law enforcement have already faced pushback. For example, related apps were removed from app stores amid scrutiny over privacy and legal authority, illustrating public resistance to widespread, unregulated biometric surveillance. Without clear policies, auditing mechanisms, or judicial oversight, critics warn that these tools could become ubiquitous in routine law enforcement, fundamentally reshaping how Americans are tracked and identified, often without their knowledge or consent. The path forward: legal and policy responses. The controversy surrounding mobile Fortify has prompted calls for legislative action. Proposed laws aim to limit the use of facial recognition by immigration authorities, restrict warrantless biometric surveillance, and establish clear legal boundaries for these tools. Civil liberties groups continue to advocate for stronger statutory restrictions, independent oversight, and transparency. Suggested measures include mandatory privacy impact assessments, auditing procedures, strict limits on data retention, and clear consent requirements at the point of biometric collection. Whether such reforms succeed in Congress remains uncertain, but as DHS and its agencies push biometric surveillance further into everyday operations, debates over privacy, civil liberties, and technological reliability are likely to intensify. Conclusion: the rollout of the mobile Fortify face recognition app by ICE and CBP highlights the challenges of implementing biometric surveillance responsibly. Despite official claims, the system cannot reliably confirm identity, lacks meaningful privacy safeguards, and operates with little transparency. The human cost of misidentification, from unnecessary detention to wrongful targeting, underscores the need for urgent review and reform. As federal agencies continue to deploy these technologies, the question remains whether the government can balance security objectives with fundamental privacy and civil rights protections. For now, mobile Fortify represents a cautionary example of how high-tech solutions can outpace oversight, potentially putting countless individuals at risk while promising accuracy that it cannot deliver.